edition of the Irish Coffee Hour. I am, I guess, your host, Ryan Harbinson with Clear Ridge Branding Agency. We are a full marketing agency down here in South Jersey. We go to offices in Philly and Chicago and really cover everything from branding, creative, SEO, social web, digital, whatever really helps get your brand out there. That's what we do. And today, I'm really excited to have one of the first new styles of Irish coffee, where we're going to be kind of teaming up with local organizations in the area, bringing on kind of their board and some of their top individuals to kind of discuss their expertise and learn a little bit more about some of the organizations that are out there. And today we are honored to be with BCSJ, which is Business Committed to South Jersey. So really, really excited to have some people from the organization on as our speakers today. But definitely want to give some shout outs and a quick 30-second plugs for some of the social media sponsors that help spread the word for this event. So I don't know if we have Mike on. So Mike Camiso from DocuTrend. We do have James Corbett, Project Refit. James, why don't you take the mic for 30 seconds? Go ahead, bud. Tell everybody what you guys do.
Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it. Hey, everyone. So my name is James Corbett. I'm with Project Refit. We help out veterans, first responders, and their families. Great example of what we do. We're trying to build community. And recently, meaning like last week, we just helped out a family, police officer and firefighter killed himself in Audubon, New Jersey, sadly. We helped that family raise over $30,000, over $35,000 now to help them
awesome.
Kind of like with any bills that they need. We just shared out their fundraiser, and we made sure that we called on the community to come together to help them out, and the community responded in a really big way. Also, we are getting our trailer of our first mobile base this Tuesday. So it's a really, really big deal and accomplishment. We've been saving up for a while for that. So yeah, that's us. And, just wait and see. We're going to be doing some cool stuff. So thank you, everybody.
Great stuff. Thanks. And Bob Kennedy from Insperity is also a sponsor of this event. Bob?
Perfect. Good morning, everyone. Bob Kennedy from Insperity. We're an outsourced HR company here to support Ryan and Irish Coffee. I know a lot of you on the call. Anybody having issues engaging their employees or any issues just getting back to work, we're here as a resource. We're also here as a great company here to help. Thank you.
Great. Thanks. And Brian Barry with Catholic Partnership Schools.
Thanks, Harb. So Brian Barry, good morning, everyone. I am with Catholic Partnership Schools. We are an independent management organization. We operate 5 campuses throughout Camden City. We educate about 1,000 kids each year, and we have about 150 employees. I would love to, if I haven't had a chance to meet you, have a one-on-one. So I'll throw my link in the chat. Happy Monday.
Thanks, Brian. Yeah, we're not really doing around the world. So if you want to put your info in the chat, please do that. That would be great. And then if you want a copy of that chat log, I can send that over to you via email. So with that, let's kind of jump into what we're doing. So on the call, we have Suzanne and we have Angela from BCSJ. And Suzanne, why don't you kind of give us a little insight on what BCSJ does, and then we'll give you guys each a couple of seconds to kind of talk about what the full-time gig looks like. So please.
Yeah, awesome. First, I want to thank Brian for having us here. It's a great opportunity, and we are very happy to meet everyone. BCSJ, formerly BC Squared, which is probably how a lot of people still know it, is Businesses Committed to South Jersey. We are a networking group with a focus on commercial real estate and economic development in South Jersey. Group was founded in 1970 as the Third Friday Friars. We've been through a variety of name changes since then, but here we are today. I'm the president of the group. Angela is the vice president, and we're here to tell you a little bit about what we do.
Great. And what's your full-time gig? Give us a little insight on that too.
Yeah. So my full-time gig when I'm not BCSJing is sales and estimating at American Asphalt Company. We have asphalt plants in Burlington and Mount Ephraim, and we are a full-service paving company. We make it, we put it down, we maintain it once it's there. All aspects of asphalt parking lots, from new construction to maintenance, line striping, installation of signs. If you can find it in a parking lot, we can help you with it.
That's great. And Angela, please, the floor is yours.
Hi, I'm Angela Venti. As Suzanne said, the vice president of the organization. Founded a little bit ago and just walked into a great room of commercial minded people, commercial real estate, anyone who has any kind of business in that space. And it's just been a great group. It's so nice to see so many people. I think this is the most camera on Zoom call I've been on in a while. So it's really nice to see everybody's face and see some people I know. And thank you for having us.
All right, great. I think one of the great things is your organization is kind of, I think, one of the the kind of the unkept secrets out there. Like you guys were really starting to get some momentum, and then everything happened, and here we are. So it's great to highlight you guys and tell people what you guys do. So with that said, I know the the economic development world right now and the commercial real estate world is getting really crazy, and I think we all kind of see like what's happening and like how is everyone going to kind of adapt and with some of these big spaces, because we've kind of like went 10 years in the future in about that first 3 months, and everyone that was kind of skeptical about working at the house now knows that unfortunately for the kids there are no more snow days, right? So that really sucks. They don't know what it's like anymore. But Suzanne, give us a little insight, like what you're seeing kind of like with some of the facilities that you guys are doing it with, like how that's affecting like the properties themselves with people not being there, and like what people are doing to kind of like change up the game now that not as many people are at the office every day.
Yeah, it's a great question. We've seen both ends of the spectrum, I think, with this. It's not all doom and gloom, right? Just because the buildings are empty doesn't mean work isn't being done. We just had on Friday a panel for BCSJ to talk about the landlord-tenant relationship, how people are making things work, how they're repurposing their space, things like rent abatements, and we've just seen people working together, which is great. As far as the physical space, I know inside the buildings, some things are shifting. Some people need less space because they are working remotely. Some people need more space because they do need to be in the office, but they need the social distancing aspect. So there's a lot going on inside the buildings. Outside the buildings, what we've seen from a construction standpoint, we've been fortunate enough at American Asphalt to stay busy this entire time. New construction is happening. Capital projects that were already funded continued to flow. One of the benefits actually to the buildings being empty is that the parking lots are empty. So things that we ordinarily wouldn't have access to, we can knock out projects more efficiently, more cost effectively for the customer, things like that.
Yeah. So how does that work? So are they just, I mean, is it less maintenance on them? Like, are you guys still as busy as before, or like, what's the situation look like with like, I mean, even like like the snow stuff? I mean, like, are some people just like, oh, nobody's here, so we're not going to plow the lots,
Yeah, no, plowing is still happening. Yeah, plowing necessary evil. And it's funny that, maybe not funny, haha, but funny, typical for these times, that we've gotten more snow in the past month than we've gotten like in the past 2 or 3 years, right? So on the maintenance end, what people really need to pay attention to is the condition of their parking lot. Yes, it needs to be safe. Yes, it needs to be clear of things like snow and ice. And more importantly, we're seeing a shift in things like retail, right? Like, I don't know how out and about everyone is, but when you pull into a Walmart or a ShopRite or anything like that, you're seeing much more direction as far as where to pick things up and designated parking for things. There's new signs up everywhere. There's new striping everywhere. Some people are repurposing their parking lots into just something totally different, right? Some larger lots have been used for COVID testing sites, or maybe now we'll see vaccination sites, like the Morristown Mall, right? Who knew that Lord and Taylor was going to sit empty for how long and now have an actual purpose in this whole thing?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think we're going to see a lot more of that too, is just the repurposing of some of these giant buildings. I mean, when you've got people that are moving into a 10,000 square foot facility and then everybody kind of goes home, I mean, it's hard to do. I mean, Angela, you guys are kind of dealing with that too. I mean, what's it like with, you guys have a pretty big facility with not a lot of people in there, and you guys really really can't have like an outbreak kind of happen, because then the tax world kind of gets kind of hit hard. So what's it look like with you guys, like only a small amount of people, if anybody, in your office?
So my daytime job is working for Ally Silverstein, the accounting firm. I have not been in the office since March 5th of last year. So it's been almost coming up on a year anniversary. We were lucky enough that Hurricane Sandy made my office go to the cloud. So we didn't have to do anything at all except flip a switch to be remote. The pandemic has upped the timing for the accounting industry by about a little over 6 years to be remote. So they kind of sped everything up. And we're seeing across the board from our clients, while some of the people are having devastating consequences, we're seeing other industries have huge upticks. So it's kind of like an uneven dumbbell, like one side's very heavy with people who aren't doing well, and one's so there's programs out there that you have to show 20% or 50% loss of revenue. I have a lot of clients that can't show that because they have not seen that kind of decrease. Like Suzanne saying, some parts of the business, while they might be different, there's been upticks. So it's been a very interesting thing to watch. But across the world, what we're seeing is everybody kind of is having a universal experience, at least. So when I say to a client, I'd like to hop on a Zoom call, 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, they would say, no, I'd really prefer to meet in person, where now everybody just does that. So our meetings have changed. Where we are targeting and marketing to used to be just 080 zip code pretty much. And now I can be on a call here in Jersey in the morning and talking to somebody in Colorado a little bit later. It's changed everything for our industry. And like I said, accelerated this type of working by about 6.5 years.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, we were talking about this earlier too. Like, I feel like, one of the new things that everyone is getting good at is adapting, right? And the adaptation factor, I think, has been really huge. And with that, people have kind of pivoted and moved a little bit. I mean, you're looking at things that we've seen in the marketing world where, everyone was like, oh, marketing is going to be a little hard to go and continue to push. And then a couple months down the road, they're like, actually, our travel budgets are not even relevant anymore. And people are saving so much money on hotel and flights and car rentals not kind of being a thing anymore, that everyone's kind of repurposing that money to like a different either budget or a different category. And it's good to see that, because I think there's a lot of people that might not have access or maybe waited too long with the PPP stuff, and that's really nice for people to be able to understand that you need those nest eggs in case something does happen. And I know you guys are really dealing with a lot of those PPPs, and like there's a couple different iterations of that. So give us a little insight, kind of like, I mean, what was the madness like in the beginning of that? When did it calm down? And like, what have you seen that people have been using that for and kind of been able to adapt and stay alive with that?
When it first came out, it was there were many 12-hour, 14-hour days on PPP 1.0, we'll call it. The money ran out. The window opened again. We were trying to do EIDL at the same time. Which one would work best? Do we need both? PPP 2.0 has been much calmer. And I don't know if anybody heard the news this morning. They decided to shut it down for larger companies, and they're taking for the next 2 weeks applications from anybody who has 20 employees or less to give everybody a chance to get those funds. It was used to, and as intended, had to be used for 60%, had to be used for payroll. So we saw a lot of people that were able to keep their staff employed. My firm would be a perfect example of that. None of us have been let go. We work full-time, probably more than full-time. Work from home there doesn't seem to be a start and an end time unless you've managed to get that in place. I usually have somebody to come into me and say, okay, it's time to stop working, because our days just are a lot longer than they used to be. But yeah, it's been PPP, a lot calmer 2.0, and you had to show basically a loss. And again, we had a lot of customers we reached out to and said, do you want to do this round as well? And they couldn't. So that's great. I mean, that's a good sign, but that still a lot of people were able to take advantage of it and keep those people on payroll like it was intended. So it's been good.
Yeah, it's great to see that. And I think with that, the adaptation factor, I mean, Suzanne, like, what have you guys been seeing? Like, are people kind of adapting, like, with their lots and things? I mean, we kind of talked about kind of using it as different locations, but are anything else outside the box that you're seeing, just like from the organization as a whole, and kind of what your members have been kind of doing to kind of shift and move and change?
Yeah, it seems like there's a shift in what we're seeing in new construction. And I'm sure that the architects and engineers could speak to this too. We're seeing huge warehouse projects, right? Lots of industrial, much less retail. But it's mostly, the push for industrial. There's lots of self-storage. There's lots of just different projects that are going on that we're seeing more frequently and in different places, like down in Logan. There's a ton of development going on down there.
Yeah, and I'm out by the Commodore Barry, and there's a bunch. I think they're building yet another Amazon facility out
Yeah,
here.
because that's what we need. We need another Amazon.
Jesus.
But it's, maybe we'll get things within 2 hours instead of within 2 days now from Amazon, because you could just walk over to the facility. But yeah, it's just been a huge push in industrial. I think is seeing a big spike as some of the other, office and retail kind of takes a hit. It's being repurposed somewhere else.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. I think the industrial side is definitely gonna be the kind of the lifesaver of everybody kind of changing up the way that things are happening. I mean, with that, I mean, it's like, what do you do with the restaurant situation? And like, are you gonna start seeing maybe like multiple restaurants all facilitating the same spot, and like, Mondays it's Mexican, and Tuesday it's Italian, and Wednesday it's this, and multiple chains and of opportunities all sharing kind of the same kitchen out of a hub, and no more real like indoor dining, but just multiple people utilizing the facility itself. I mean, what I think was really good too is that we've actually got a really good crowd here tonight. So kind of want to, we don't really do this a lot, and I love when I get a chance to do this, kind of open it up to the floor a little bit. So I see, I always love to do. I'm just going to call them out. So Tim, I know that you've always got insight and things like that. So um, we'll just kind of use everybody's experience here, what they see, what's going on, or if questions for the panel. Let's just kind of open the floor a little bit. So, Mr. Jennings, go ahead.
I would say I had a one-on-one the other day with a guy named Matt McNamara. I don't know if you know him. Watchdog Real Estate he's from. And Matt was talking about what's going on with the malls lately and how the malls are emptying out and all that kind of stuff. The reality is malls are going to do good or going to do bad based on the area that they're in and what we do to help them. The mall, our main streets, their survival is based on whether or not we're going to go out and help them survive. And if the main streets and the malls don't survive, then the movie theaters and the restaurants aren't going to survive. But the point I made to him, I thought was interesting, was the Deptford Mall did something really unique, I thought. So Dick's, as you all may know, Dick's Sporting Goods moved into the Deptford Mall. And what's interesting about what they did and the way they did it, and I don't know if it's Dick's that did it or if it's the mall management that owns the mall that did it, but they changed the facade of the entire Sears store so that it no longer looked anything like a Sears store. And I think that is super key when it comes to that kind of commercial real estate and businesses like that moving into a space like that for consumers to go, well, I want to go in there. Brand new, looks great, feels great. And I think that's a really big key to the success of these kind of retail stores that really need people to come in and buy things in person rather than just go online. And like you said, Amazon will sell you everything. And what is Prime these days? Because I don't get anything in a day. So look, I mean, everything has a purpose. I think Amazon has a purpose, but I think more than anything, for all of us and all of our own relative neighborhoods, shop local, shop small, go to your local stores, But what do you think? I would ask the panelists, what do you guys think about what's going on with the malls and that kind of thing?
So I can say one thing that makes me go to the mall every day. It's 5:15 in the morning, but they put my gym in the mall. So putting other things that that make you go, I think might draw people there, because I certainly wouldn't be going otherwise. So I do hear that they're planning on doing some of that repurposing, and trying to bring other types of experiences. Every expert that I'm listening to, I'm a CNBC person, and they're predicting, like after the Spanish flu, that there was the roaring 20s, that as soon as we get the green light, it's going to be crazy. Somebody said it'll be like a Mardi Gras every day. Somebody described it as a Woodstock. It's going to go nuts. Here's hoping. I hope that all those businesses that were shut down or shuttered see that uptick. I think the businesses that were most impacted, the theaters, the music, the restaurants, if that's the case, that's where I think people are going to roar to. I think the vaccine and getting that out and getting that green light, I don't see the end of it. I think the way we watch movies has probably changed for probably going forward. I think it's going to have to be like, I don't know how old this movie is, but I'll probably date myself. Armageddon. Like, you saw that on the screen, you got out, you had motion sickness. It was like one of those things you had to see on the big screen, but then you couldn't open your door handle because you were so sick. So I think movies like that might, you want to maybe get away from your own TV for, but I think it's going to have to be something like that, unless they change the theater experience a little bit. But I think other things, people are anxious to get back out. I know we were doing happy hours at home thinking that, we'll start in March. Well, by May, we're like, wow, we're going to be alcoholics if this doesn't end soon. So we had to change that up a little bit. And
I think everybody went through that.
Went through that.
Yeah.
So, and it just came, kept going and going. So here we are. But I do think what we miss the most is socializing, being out with, even grandkids, you can't see anybody right now. I'm watching grandkids grow on Skype, and that's the saddest thing. So I think everybody is very anxious to get back to doing those things again.
Well, I think part of it too was understanding, how you're going to adapt. And I know, like, we've said this a lot, but it's really the key to it is, like, with the movie theaters, it opens up a big opportunity to expand it. And I did a video on this a couple weeks ago, and it's like really expanding like what they're offering. But at the same time, when you've got major motion picture companies like Warner Brothers now doing literally all 19 major theatrical releases on their streaming service, also in theater as well, but in your house the same day, it's changing the game. And I think there's huge opportunities for the theater companies to team up with these the streaming companies. And imagine being able to watch the first 2 episodes of Stranger Things a week before it was released on streaming on the big screen, full surround sound, everything, right? Being able to go watch sporting events on there. For me, being able to play games, I want to play Mario Kart up on the big screen. Like, that would be amazing. Let's do it. Get some Halo going or something. But I think you're going to see a lot of people shifting and moving, and it's going to be interesting to see where everything happens, especially with those big facilities that have a lot of people that are always, that's the key to it. Like, how is Dave and Buster's, and now with Round One open in the mall, like, how are those guys like able to kind of live when you can only do a small amount of people in there? And I know we had a couple questions, so we'll go to Carl, and then we'll go over to Rich, who's also an architect. So I'd love to hear from Rich too. So Carl, go ahead. What do you got, bud?
Awesome. Hey, thanks, Ryan. And by the way, for those of you I don't know, it's nice to meet you. And for those of I do, it's good to see you again. So
yeah, if you don't know Carl, you need to hook up with Carl. Message him one-on-one.
So just, we're talking a little bit about the needs of customers and the experiences that they're going to look for, right? And Ryan, I think you talked about some great examples of their kind of those things building on each other. But my question is really, these facilities are huge. They're not being operated at full capacity. Are there specific technologies that you guys are seeing that companies are looking to leverage to just get more efficiency out of their spaces? Whether that's, I work with some IoT stuff. So, automated sensors in the bathroom so that staff isn't walking around cleaning stuff that doesn't need to be, or intelligent lighting so you're not lighting up the whole parking lot if only certain sections of the mall are open. And, those types of things that you guys are seeing that would be interesting to get your opinion on as they're looking to control some costs.
I think that's a great question. And at the risk of putting someone on the spot, I think Rich Sanford might be a good one to speak about this, based on what I know about his work. You want to field this one?
Yeah, no pressure, Rich.
Yeah, well, it's funny. This conversation there's like 5 different things I could talk about here. But I mean, in response to that, the interesting thing about timing with this whole COVID thing is that the building codes every year update, or I'm sorry, not every year, every 3 years update. So the last update was 2018. So we're like right at the perfect time where the building codes are going to start updating. And, you know, there are definitely, you know, some, you know, different sensors and whatnot, you know, in terms of controlling lighting and saving energy there. But I'm very interested to see where the new codes will deal with mechanical services in a building. So my theory is that heating and air conditioning is going to be a little bit more compartmentalized, or like, let's just take a restaurant type environment. Instead of kind of generally treating an entire space, I could see it like they're going to kind of treat spaces where from one end you're going to have air that's serving the space, but then you're going to have, like back in the day, it used to be like one return, so everything gets cooled evenly throughout. I'm definitely thinking that it's going to be more like kind of like, let's just say, hallways of air kind of going through. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes in terms of treating air and trying to, you know, kind of the air quality in a space. Yeah, so that's what I got on that point. I mean, I can keep on going on a couple others if you like.
Rich, do you think they'll have like multiple centrifugal diffusers throughout a large space like that, rather than, like you said, one big unit?
Yeah, you know, I think that's where things are going to go. They're going to try, like I said, when I say compartmentalize, they're going to try to keep air contained in certain areas, rather than, like I said, what before it was like they supply one spot and then pull it across the entire space.
Right.
Yeah.
And when and just so I'm not talking out of turn, I used to be in HVAC years ago, and centrifugal diffuser just means that there's one vent on the ceiling and it pulls in and pushes out in one spot. So you could put multiple units throughout, like say the mall, and it would clean air all throughout the building, rather than, like Rich said, you know, pulling from one end, pushing at the other.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and then
I didn't know they had air conditioning in the 40s, but that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, and
Might have been the 30s.
Just, and another thing there is the filtering systems are going to be, you know, how that's going to deal with, like, you know, catching viruses, catching, you know, already catching dust and things like that. I think that will be let's just say upgraded to whatever the previous codes were.
Do you think they'll go UV?
Yeah, that's a good question.
No, yeah, I think definitely, and especially in larger facilities, that's definitely gonna. I think that's gonna be something that will be there.
And
yeah.
we're all going to pay for it. The feds are going to fund that.
So I
Already
think
do.
this also speaks though to repurposing space, right? Because if the individual family-owned restaurant can't afford the expense of these things, now you're in a place like the Morristown Mall or the Deptford Mall, and maybe it's not full of stores, maybe it's full of, like Ryan said, one's Italian, one's Mexican, you know, you have like an enhanced food court, but more restaurant, just all localized.
Well, I think you're going to see. I mean, if you look at Voorhees, right? So like they did this a couple years ago, and like they literally, like, the city owns the building. They have all City Hall and the courts out of like one portion of the mall itself. The bottom portion is all retail, and then the top is all professional services. So there's like eye doctors and like gastro and all this all up at the top floor. So that's a really different way to repurpose a mall. And I think we're going to see a lot of that, because I mean, these buildings are too big to just kind of let sit there and not be something. And I think what we're going to see a lot more too is that it has very eerily similar situations of 2008 and 2009, right? You know, and I think what happens is that people start to get to the point where, you know, if you did get laid off and you are getting unemployment for a couple of months, it opens up an opportunity to kind of get rid of the, you know, one of the worst diseases that we all know, which is woulda, coulda, shoulda, right? So now it's saying like, hey, I have this time that I didn't really have before. So instead of not doing that thing we've always wanted to, let's see. And if we fail, then we do. But during 8 and 9, you know, we got Uber, Groupon, Airbnb, and tons of other huge technology groups that kind of like change the way that we do things. And, you know, 11, 12 years ago, tech was not nearly as easy as it is now. So I'm excited to see what 22 and like beginning of 23 really looks like in the evolution of kind of like entrepreneurial spirits coming out and the private sector kind of repurposing things and changing the way that things happen. So with that said, I see that James, you got a question too, man. So come in. What do you got?
Yeah, I want to know if there's any thoughts around the esports and how that's going to play a role in bringing people out, especially the younger population and generation. Like when I look at malls, and this is me personally, my own personal thoughts, tell me if I'm crazy or whatever, but when I look at some malls, I literally see the opportunity to create like AR, like in time or real time gaming and having like, tournaments inside of these places, some of these bigger places, like an old Sears was brought up.
Yeah.
That's something that came to my head right away. I was like, you could literally have a bunch of different like mini stadiums all around.
Totally.
Come out and play tons of games and would get them back out into the malls and stuff. I mean, like that's, to me, I see a huge opportunity with esports. Is that something that's on the minds of architects and everyone else in here? I mean, like, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, Brian and I, we've had discussions before that I've been having this discussion for years now. I'm seeing casinos who are jumping onto it.
Oh yeah.
As a way, because they have large facilities, but also they see it as a marketing of like, if kids are doing it, eventually they're going to become old enough to gamble. There's legislations in place in terms of how to bet on that. What was it, round one, right, in Deptford?
Yeah.
That's a step. I mean, Tim was even talking about the rebranding. It's everywhere. I mean, there's clubs in high schools. There's leagues now in high schools and colleges. There's tournaments. There's so much there. Heck, I even have an idea I'm kicking around for a more local thing. Maybe Ryan and I, we can talk about that someday.
Yeah, love that.
but no, I think esports is a real big thing because it's huge. Heck, I got a 16-year-old. He doesn't watch Eagles. He doesn't watch the Sixers.
No.
But he watches streaming of that. And one day when I called him out on it, he goes, "Well, Dad, it's the same thing. You watch the Eagles on Sunday. I'm just watching a different athlete right now." So yeah, there's so many things.
That is such a great point that you just made. It's the generational thing, right? Like our parents, they used to sit down and watch TV. Look, and it was over the air or cable. There's raise your hand here if you've got like cable TV in your house, right? Like we stream something or we watch it on YouTube. Like exactly. I wouldn't want to be a legacy network right now.
No way. I mean, I think part of it is this, and I think this is the big difference with esports, which a lot of and there's a huge generational gap in this. I mean, we got to remember that games as a whole is a $72.6 billion industry last year. It's more money than sports, movies, and music combined. Okay, well, $1.8 billion of that is esports, and which is still in its early infant stages of development. We've now have pro leagues, collegiate level, high school, independent leagues as well. And now with the mold being broken, it's not so much just first person shooters and shooter games like Fortnite and Call of Duty. I mean, you're going to see stuff in the next couple of years where there's like Mortal Kombat 2 Super Nintendo leagues, and all they play is Mortal Kombat 2 for Super Nintendo. I mean, I think the thing we need to realize is that everybody that's in their mid 40s and under, we all grew up playing games. And the Gen Z kids, if you don't play games, it's kind of strange that you don't play games. Like that's the difference, is that everyone plays games. And with that, you're going to see the game element get integrated into work in the work life eventually as well. Gamification is a huge part of how people learn. I mean, would you rather watch good morning, and thank you for joining the team. Today, we're going to watch 8-hour videos that are boring and that you don't care about, and then you're going to fill out a bunch of paperwork? Or is it like, pay attention, watch what's going on, we're going to ask you questions, and the more you get right, the more you get points. If you level up to a certain level, then we have a huge store that you can cash in your points for. And if you do 5 or 6 things in the office as like side quests, like go talk to this, here's a questionnaire. If you get all the questions right, who has 2 brothers, whose dog is named Skippy, and you find all that stuff out, and then you get more points. And when you level up, then we have an opportunity for you to cash those in, and there's Amazon gift cards and JBL speakers, and you can get a new PlayStation controller or whatever it is. And you're going to see that, and gamification is going to be the way that culture in the millennial, Gen Z, Gen X is really going to take over in the workplace.
I need to
Yeah.
retire before that happens. But 76ers had spent a ton of money getting into esports, and they were on the uptick of using stadiums to do esports and those gamings, and then it got stopped by what happened. So that's going to come back. They know
Yeah.
that's a future thing, and they were really getting started. They had a woman leading that charge, and she was doing amazing, and then it just came to a halt. So, but I think you're going to see that come back in a big way.
I
Oh,
mean,
yeah, I mean-
Comcast is very involved with the Fusion and the stadium that's being built right across from Xfinity. So, get Rich.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna add to Angela's point. I mean, the Sixers. I mean, I don't know how many people know this, but there's actually a training facility for esports in the Sixers facility because they have an NBA 2K team, just like they have, Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. They have 2K players that they've drafted. The NBA is actually pretty much on the forefront in terms of esports with the from all the major sports leagues. There's so many owners who are throwing money at it. They know it's something. They just don't know anything about it. So they're just throwing the money at it and see where it sticks.
It's great. Great question. And I would say this: are you guys hearing any buzz on that? Like, Suzanne, are you guys hearing anything in that commercial field? Like, I mean, I know we said a couple things, but is that actual talks going on of any of that,
Yeah.
or other like outside the box kind of facility creation?
I haven't heard anything specific about that, but Angela, I can't retire before all of this happens. So I just wrote down gamification because I need to get on this whole train. I think what you might also see is kind of a throwback, right? Like I have never been to a drive-in movie theater, but I know that these are things now that, when the weather, I guess, gets better, you'll see Walmart and you'll see these bigs. I mean, look at Tacony Palmyra, right? We don't know what's going to happen with the flea market, but we know it's going to be something. And that used to be a drive-in. So I think you're going to also have a return to some things that we can do in groups, but separately outside.
Yeah, I mean, there's a huge one in Vineland that's had a drive-in for many years,
And it's the only one,
and it's a
right? But who
great
wants to go all the
time.
way to Vineland? Right. That's what I always say. I would love to go do that because I missed it, right? Because I'm too young for that. But now I'm like, let's jump on that. But I don't want to drive to Vineland.
It was really nice, actually. It was a lot of fun. So I'm just gonna, yeah, it was good.
Well, I think that, and this is fun. So, like, I think this opens up the opportunities to kind of rethink old tech in a new way, right? Like, if they were going to remake like cassette players today, they would be amazing, right? Or a CD Walkman today, like it wouldn't skip, even though it says it has anti-skip, which we all know was nonsense because Sony is ridiculous. But I used to ride on my bike with that thing, and it would skip sometimes. But I think you're going to see a lot of that. I think the drive-throughs is a great way to do that. Like, how can we bring like old stuff, and if we were going to rethink about it today, how could we do it a little different, right? And the way that is instead of having some speaker box outside your window, now if you've got a really good setup in your car, you turn into like 99.8, which is just a dead station, and they're just going to stream right through the radio, and it's great. And
Ryan, that's a really good point. I know a lot of churches have been doing that.
Great.
When they couldn't do in-person services, they gathered in their parking lot and picked a frequency and broadcasted from the outside, which is a really cool way to still gather but safely.
Well, I think it's a good pivot for landlords that are losing tenants that maybe will not be in there. And if they have these large parking lot facilities, a parking lot now is just a new style of venue. So I could start a whole division where I'm actually not even renting my building. I'm just renting the parking lot that I have to then have people then come in and throw events in my parking lot while I'm still trying to figure out what the hell to do with this 10,000 square foot facility that I had rented out, but their contract expired 3 weeks ago, and no one is going to be coming in hot on a 10,000 square foot. So I'm excited to see just how people are going to kind of step and move. And James, good. You had something else, man?
Yeah. I actually feel like I have another question regarding. It does deal with parking lots actually, because so Project Refit in 2020, first thing we did as soon as somebody allowed us to go out and gather, even if it was like 20, I was like, oh, I'm gonna do a car cruise, and everybody's gonna be in their cars anyway. We're all just gonna go hang out. We did that, and then we had a cornhole tournament in a parking lot, and I noticed so when I was doing my research, I started asking different food trucks, and thankfully, Rob's Craft Sandwiches came out. He's a great guy, everybody look him up. Rob's Craft Sandwiches came out, and I had to go to him. I wanted to go to him anyway, but I had to go to him specifically, definitely, because all other food trucks were booked. So with that in mind, is there actually like a really big opportunity for like food trucks and everything now? Have you guys seen anything about that, and like people having more food truck festivals or something planned? Or I don't know anything, so I don't know. I thought I'd
Yeah,
ask.
if I can add, because I think somebody made the point earlier about like virtual kitchens. So there's this term now called a ghost kitchen.
Yeah, that's what I was
What?
saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it like
So those,
Casper? Sorry,
what's that?
nothing.
Oh, so the ghost kitchen. I have already had a call from somebody who. So a ghost kitchen is kind of like Ryan. Were you the one who mentioned it?
Yeah,
earlier?
that's what I was talking about was ghost kitchens. Yeah.
Yeah. So different companies all kind of share a facility, so that I could see that. I could see that. That's happening. So in response to your question, James, I think a ghost kitchen is that first step.
I also know for startup, it's yeah, I mean, look at the restaurants that were small to begin with, and then you're at 20% capacity.
Yeah,
that
that's
could
crazy.
be 2 tables. But a food truck, because it is an outside thing anyway, you're going to a venue. So you were able to run the entire time without any loss. And small restaurants were not able to do that. So the food truck fairs, people love going to those. I know that I live in Medford. They had truck fest all the way till it got so cold that you couldn't stand it. In Florida, it is a huge booming business. There's people who are going from cold areas down to warm areas to keep their year busy the entire time. That's definitely, and the cost of running that versus running a restaurant and the rent and the space, it's tremendous, the difference. So I think they're going to be here for a while. I know our office, we have the entire bottom floor of a building. We're going to go down to half, and they're switching to a hotel style office. So you'll call, you'll book the room or your space if you need a cubicle for the day. But the accountants will probably never go back to full capacity, because there's literally no reason. And one of the other things you might see, to hire an accountant in New Jersey versus hiring an accountant in Iowa, it's a lot less expensive to hire one out there than it is here, because the wage difference for a New York or New Jersey. So you're going to see people getting jobs all over the United States for different occupation or different fields. So I think that's another interesting thing that hasn't really played all the way out yet. But virtual onboarding, I heard, I think his name was Tim, saying about all the cleaning things. So anybody hearing that who's maybe starting up a business, there's a huge, that's going to be something for forever that we're going to have to work with. It's funny because if this cannabis thing gets passed, I wish Holly was on the call, because that's going to be, there's actually a special cleaning you have to have if you have cannabis clients in your office, because of the smell that goes with it. So there's actually a business that's just dedicated to cannabis, and up in Colorado, they're already up and running, but that's something that hasn't even hit here yet. But when it becomes legal, moving the cash, and there's so many more industries just around that, if that finally passes. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens even in our area.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm very curious to see maybe like what people's books look like next year, when all of a sudden, if like you guys are a pretty large firm, like going from that, like what does that, and now you've got no travel involved, you got more than half the rent cost being
Right.
disappear.
I pay for my electricity, my internet,
That's what I'm saying.
He's not paying for any of those things anymore. For 56 people, 2 offices, that's a very large expense that won't be there anymore.
Well, you literally just took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say, like, when I drive, I have, I get X amount per mile. I mean, what does that look like from the house perspective? Does your road, your cents per mile turned into, okay, well, we're going to pay, you work 40 hours a week, and we're going to give you 37 cents on the hour to go towards your electric bill. And we need to see what your electric bill looks like. Okay, you're at $200 for the month, X like this. So we'll cover $62 of your electric bill every month.
I swapped it for my dry cleaning bill, which I don't need anymore because I only get dressed from the waist up. So I don't really have that problem. So there's that. I don't need shoes. Like, it's so funny because I think I switched from flip-flops on March. It's just been, the changes are amazing from just being out to not being out at all. It's certainly saved me money as well. So I can't say that's not the case, but you're right. I used to submit lunch tickets, mileage, everything, and don't have that anymore. So it is, I know things are changing. I do enjoy working from home. I know not everybody does. Slipper sales are way up, yes, and stretchy pants. I think stretchy pants are way up too. So, but yeah, I think there's flip sides to both. I know for sure I'm spending less working from home as well.
Yeah, and I just to add to that, as a, I've got a good majority of my business is residential architecture. I'm so stinking busy.
That's
and it's
insane.
it's people who are, whether they're called accessory, in-law suites. I don't want to get too technical. So in-law suite requests and additional living, or changing something in their house so they have that home office and all that. That's been big right now.
That whole market is, people, I was talking to a real estate agent. She had 11 clients in bidding wars over the weekend and lost all 11. So that market is just another whole thing on its
insane.
own. Yeah.
I mean, we just moved over the bridge, and we were looking for a house for close to a year, and it was like unbelievable. Like, we would go in, and if the house was priced right, we would come in like a little over asking. People are coming in like 20% over asking with cash. Straight cash.
Yep, they're going. Appraisals aren't coming in anywhere near, and they're making it up with cash. It's insane that even renting a house on LBI, they're already. It's what, February. There are 85% rented, and now they're just reaching out to owners to see if they'll agree to rent their house. There's such a shortage for people who want to, and why not? You can work from home. You can work wherever you are. So it's just it's a different thing that, people are looking to be down the shore, be with their family. And that's another whole market that's just going to be crazy.
And then the other side of the coin is travel is like insane. Like, you can go to LA round trip for like $160.
You can't go out when you get there.
No, you can't go out.
When you get
there. You can go to Florida for like $65 for like 2 people. It's like insane. So
you have a credit card for Frontier, it's $11 a flight.
That is craziness, which like makes me like really pisses me off, because
it's cheaper than Uber.
It shows you like how much money were they making on us before? Like, if now they can sell flights for $11, and they're like, oh, did you want to go to Florida? It's $285 each way, and now it's $11. So it's very interesting to see that come to fruition. So, all right, so we'll keep the floor open. Any other questions?
I think the home office shore thing is interesting too. As I was leaving the shore, I have a little place in Stone Harbor last year. A lot of the renters were telling me that college students were renting places really cheap because it's the winter. Somebody goes down there.
Great idea.
And they were going to be going to school remotely anyway. So why not be at the shore? As long as they could enjoy the weather as much as they could,
awesome.
And then just tough it out through the winter months.
That's Stockton life.
Yeah, right. I love it.
Hey man, I saw it. I was there at the end of the summer, and my wife and I are walking around. I'm like, I hear parties. I can hear people like, it's just what happens, It's fun stuff.
Great. Thanks.
Yeah, I had a company that I do work with. We do 3D scanning services, and we got hired by a company down in Dewey Beach that owns like 900 some units. So we were scanning them all, thinking they were going to be empty, and the project got cut short because people were coming back to rent them. So we couldn't do it. We couldn't do our work anymore because they were occupied rather than empty.
It's awesome.
It's absolutely crazy. I do think, Angela, what you said about the putting the gym in the mall is, again, genius. Deptford's actually going to put a gym right at the outside of their mall in the old what is it? The old Sears Automotive.
Oh, Sears Auto. Yeah. I think you're going to see that. Again, Raph, you got a question?
No, I was just going to say, as we're doing all this work from home stuff. It's funny because we'll start to see from the insurance side, claims start to come in, and people are getting a little creative because now we're starting to see those work comp claims from the.
Yeah.
I sprained my ankle walking from the bedroom to the home office, and you're like, "Are you effing kidding me?" But people, I think no matter what, people are going to be resilient, and people are going to adapt and get
Yep.
creative, and they're going to survive, and we're going to be fine. But yeah, it's just funny, like now that you're seeing those kind of claims come in, and you're just like, you got to be kidding me, man.
Yeah,
So,
if I trip over my dog because he's under my chair, like, is that count? Like, how does that work?
well, and
They
the other
had
thing was, I think I've said this before, but one of my daughters went out for basketball practice for the first time in a while, and she was like, half the team is gassed. They couldn't even finish like a practice. Now imagine all of us, workaholics here. We go outside once this pandemic's over and start running miles again. I mean, not that we're not doing it now, but we're brittle. We're fragile
no.
people right now. So, just take it slow.
Watch out for Tim Jennings.
Be careful with that snow shovel.
I know,
Don't trip
right?
over me.
I know. Well, hey guys, this was great. Thanks for all the participation, audience wise. It was excellent. So, Suzanne, I'll give you guys another couple seconds just to give us a little insight what you guys coming up on the BCSJ, how people can get involved, and then we will shut it down.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. So we do have a couple virtual events coming up. We have the Angela, I guess we'll speak a little to our next event, which is the third Friday in March, all about banking, insurance, business, everything you need to know in the new normal. And then April and May, we are going to be doing kind of a combo deal about commercial space and what, how everyone is pivoting, how you can make your parking lot safe and attractive
great.
to tenants. And there's a big push for solar canopies, things like that. There's lots of good
Love
incentives for that. We'll focus on all of those things. And
she froze. I can take it, Angela. It's all you.
So March, as she was mentioning, we are going to have two bankers.
we are hoping that we are allowed to gather
she's
in
back.
person.
She's back. We lost you for a second there. Go
Oh,
ahead.
did you lose me? What is
Yeah.
up with my audio? Okay, so June, maybe we'll be in person. That's where I think I left off.
All right,
And
great.
what was the topic? She missed it. What was the
Oh
topic?
God, we're going to talk about cannabis and everything exciting and fun and new that you need to know about how to safely participate in that.
Yeah. And
If anyone is interested in membership, email myself or Angela, and our website is bcsjonline.com.
Great. And Holly, who's on the board, is she's with Hardenberg Insurance and is a cannabis aficionado. I mean, she has been at the forefront of the cannabis world since before it was cool. So she knows all the ins and outs and how everybody's doing and how it's really going to change New Jersey. And hopefully the government will have a plan at some point on what they're going to do. So any last words, Angela?
Nope. I hope you do check us out. It is, like everyone's saying, an unknown group, but such a great group. And if you are anywhere around commercial real estate, anybody who has anything to do with commercial real estate, this is a great group to belong to. You can check, especially now, if you check out one of our events, they're on Zoom, and you can see if the people that come are a good fit for you. So I highly recommend it. We did have Rich on with what he does at his company, and I thought it was the most fascinating thing what they're doing with the drones and parking lots and everything that they have going on. It's just always a very interesting group. The one we just had in February, it was actually last Friday, was all about this exact topic. If you're a landlord, how are you dealing with the tenants? If you're a tenant, how do you talk to your landlord? It was a lawyer from the legal perspective of what you can negotiate and what's fair, because those landlords still have to make their bank payments. So those are the kinds of topics that the group discusses. So I hope you'll check us out.
Excellent. Yeah, I've been a member for a long time. It's a great group. They do a really great job. Again, that site is bcsjonline.com. Go check them out and look at us, 9:59. Gotta love it. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Another Irish Coffee Hour. We'll see you in 3 weeks with John Lorenzo and the South Jersey Young Professionals. So join us for that. Thanks, everybody. Take it easy. Be safe.
Thank
See y'all.
you.